What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this finally Friday. It is February 17th, 2023, about 3:06 p.m. here in the afternoon, California time. And got some major flaring activity ramping up here today, including one of the stronger flares we've seen in a little while, a 2.2, X 2.2. This was a long duration X flare as well, coming off of our sunspot that we've been watching here for a little bit, 3229. Current image of that sunspot shows it very dynamic up here and rather large as well. We've been watching this one here for a couple days, finally got a glimpse of it, and it looks as though this is going to be a very active region. Now, current imagery here still showing a significant flare. I don't think it's calmed down yet from the X flare category. Let's see, 2256 UTC time. Let's see, 2256. That's going to be, just a little bit ago, about 10 minutes or so ago. So this is definitely recent imagery of the sun, and I'm surprised this thing is still flaring like that. That is a major sunspot, and I don't think we're done yet with that. Notice the flaring continues as we speak. X 2.2 long duration, and we're just coming down a little bit. We're still within the M flare category, currently in M 1.4, but we need to watch the sunspot for some potential further flaring. That is just a crazy wicked sunspot. Looking at this image here as well, shows this thing kind of like a giant matchstick on the sun. And I don't think we're done yet. We could see another X flare as this thing rotates into view. May see one stronger than what we've seen here. X 2.2, I think we had one, trying to think if we had one here last year of that magnitude. Either way, did produce an R3 radio blackout on the sunlit side of the Earth, which was centered over the West Coast, California area when it did pop off. The flare itself was a slow rising, peaked at around the 2016 time frame. You see how much time has passed since that X flare has popped, but still continuing, still flaring like crazy. It looks as though, with the direction of the sunspots, not currently directly lined up with Earth, but it did produce a significant CME. It was blasted off the region of where the X flare took place, a full halo CME. Good possibility that it may be Earth directed, as mentioned here from the folks here at the solarham.net site. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how that plays out. But definitely noteworthy to watch 3229 for some further flaring. Look at this X flare when it peaked. That is a major, beautiful solar flare. And I say beautiful because space weather in general, Earth stuff is that's my eye candy. So this is absolutely beautiful. Again, definitely within view of the Earth, but not directly squared up here. Say, for example, if this was lined up further into the center disk here of the sun and that blasted off that massive CME, we would be in for a treat here in a couple days. As it is right now, we are expecting a G2 class storm tonight. The detailed forecast here puts it between 0 to 600 on the UTC time, February 18th, which is going to be tonight. As you can see right now, the UTC time is 2:17, February 17th, and we're almost at the 0 mark, almost at the 2400 mark there. So we're looking anywhere between anywhere in the next, basically 1 hour forward is where they're putting this at. So hopefully this will line up as we get dark on the West Coast and, of course, the East Coast as well, to see maybe some higher latitude lights. Now, I want to show you guys here real quick on the imagery of potential where you could see this tonight. The red line, of course, the redness up here is the thickness, the most intense area where you're going to see the brightest auroras overhead, and that includes a huge area of Canada, Alaska, and Greenland and Iceland as well. Now, as you get into this red line here, it's called the view line. If you got a clear open sky to the north and nothing on the horizon, no city buildings, no neighbor there with 100 palm trees, if you got a clear view of the horizon on the northern sky, you'll be able to see it from this red line. And that includes areas around northeastern Oregon, central Idaho, it looks like, into portions of Wyoming, Nebraska. And as you head east here, some areas around the East Coast may see it as well. But if you're up there, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota area, check it out. See if you can see those lights. I'm kind of curious to see if you guys can. I would. If I was up there, I would definitely be looking and observing towards the northern sky tonight for some potential auroras overhead. But again, within this line here, looking out way out on the horizon. Overhead would be obviously Canada and Alaska area. So look for that tonight. That's a big one. And we'll be providing further updates on this CME that was blasted off and the continued flaring from the sunspot here. It's a dandy of a one, let me tell you. Let's see what we got here for top solar flares. It looks as though for this solar cycle, look at that. X2.2 is the strongest flare, well, tied in this solar cycle 25. As we head into June 2025, that will be the peak of the solar maximum. So we still got a couple years to go before it really supposedly ramps up. We're already way ahead of schedule. But look at that. That's we're up there. Ranked number 1, the strongest flare in this solar cycle. Pretty impressive. We did see a couple last year in X2.2, which tied, of course, today's X flare. Earlier this year, we did see an X1.9, but definitely nothing like what we've seen today. And looks like an X1.5 last year, and so on. So you can see definitely ramping up as we head towards that solar maximum state. We'll continue to watch this and, of course, report back on it. Solar flare index is way elevated right now with 343 for the number right there. That means it's a lot of energy being produced out here with, and most of it's coming from the sunspot right here. But some of these other sunspots are contributing to that number. But we'll watch this. This thing is very bright, and it hasn't gone down at all since the, well, a little bit since the X flare. But this is current imagery, and we're still flaring, we're still recovering from that major X flare. What this does, a lot of people think, well, what's it going to do? Well, if we get a super strong X flare, then we could have some issues with satellites and electronic grids here on the planet. But I think the main effect would be the CME, the subsequent CME that would be produced from a massive eruption, for example, the X flare. Again, that was not lined up directly with Earth, but we may get a glancing blow just because of the full halo effect that was produced from this massive explosion there on the sun. We'll continue to watch that. Again, don't think we're done. With the looks of that, I would say we're definitely not done. We'll be back a little bit later on this evening, folks. I just wanted to give a little complete, a good update here on the potential for solar flare activity, or solar weather activity, I should say, tonight before it gets dark. I know it's a little bit later out there on the East Coast, but look here in about an hour forward for the arrival of that G2 class storm. Again, we could see this down into portions of northeastern Oregon, northern Nebraska area. You get it. I showed you guys that image. Check it out. Let me know if you guys can see that tonight. We'll be back here a little bit later on with a complete update video on earthquake activity and continued solar flare activity out here as well. Stay safe, folks.